Welcome everyone. We are just at 11 o'clock, so we're just going to give a few more minutes for the last few people to join, and then we will get started. I guess we'll kick off and we can recap if anybody else joins a little bit later. So welcome to our second webinar. Today's webinar is hosted by myself and Sarah. We are part of your customer success team at Indexic. We work in the software all day, every day. This is kind of what we do all the time. So this webinar is going to cover the basics of adding times, editing times, edit any date settings. We're going to go over different sections, and at the end of each section, we're just going to pause, see if there's any questions that people can go over. And to ask questions, there's a little chat box up here, which you guys can all chat in text, and then we can answer any questions that you have. Okay. So just going to turn our cameras off so we can share screens with you. So to start editing any events, you need to go to your event list, and this is where you'll see the edit event button. Access to this function can be edited by your company admin at any point, so that not everybody can get in there and change these settings. Within edit event, there are multiple tabs. Each tab covers a different section of that particular event. Not all of these tabs are currently active. They're being added in there slowly. The two tabs that you can currently access and use and change and update is Edit Event Setup and then Edit Dates and Times. Today, we're going to cover the Dates and Times tab, as this is the tab that's really most used on a day-to-day operational basis. So I'm going to hand over to Sarah, and she's going to actually add some times in.
All right, so just to recap, if you are going from your reservations calendar, we're just going to our menu bar here in the top left corner, hitting events list, and then edit event, and lastly, our dates and times tab right here at the top. So once we're in our dates and times tab, on the edit event page to the far left, you're going to see select date range with two boxes below it. Anytime you want to add a time or edit an aspect of an existing time, you will first come to these boxes to indicate the range of time you would like to add for or change. Start by selecting a date in the from calendar, so we'll just do from today, and then finish by selecting a date on the to calendar. So we'll go through the end of the month for this one. Directly below the select date range, you'll see select days of the week, which means you can have all of the dates selected as they automatically are, or we can select specific days of the week within the range we input above. So this is super helpful for if in the off season you only operate Sunday, Friday, and Saturday. For this case, we'll just have them all checked off right now. To see what times that are currently added within the range above, you can click Show Existing Times. So the results will pop up in the middle here. Currently, we see for our sightseeing tour, we have a 9 a.m. time, an 11 a.m., and a 1 p.m. trip departure time already. If we wanted to add a new time, say 3 p.m. for this date range, we would do that in the Select Time to Add box directly below the Show Existing Times box. So we find 3 p.m. here on our calendar. We press OK, and then we press Add Fixed Time. Right here. If you made a mistake and you accidentally did 3 a.m., you can always show existing times, select the time that you accidentally added, and delete that. Just make sure if you're deleting something, you want to permanently get rid of that time slot. Kat's going to actually show in the next part how to make something unavailable if it's just temporary. But if you did it by accident or you're not going to offer that time slot anymore, you can definitely delete that using that button. Does anyone have any questions so far? All right. If not, directly below, you'll see Add Calculated Time. We can create a time that is an offset either before or after from the sunset, sunrise, high tide, low tide, and a few other things, a few other events that you'll see right here in this list. The calculated time goes off of the closest tide station to your location. So mine is currently based off of the Charleston tide station you'll see right here. This feature means that if you'd like to add an offer a sunset trip, you can tell the system to add a departure time that is 1 hour before the sunset for the selected date range at the top. This will take into consideration that the sun sets a little bit earlier each night in the fall, and it will add times accordingly throughout the year or the date range that you have. So to do this, your first thing is that you'll input your offset. So in our case, we just want to have 1 hour before the sunset. That way each of our trips can see the sunset while they're out on the water. So I'll just type in 1 right here. And then I'll select either before or after the event. So in my case, it's before and then before sunset. Next, I'm able to choose if I would like to round to the nearest hour, half hour, quarter hour, or not at all. This is helpful if you would not like to have a departure time that's like 6:17, if the sun is setting at 7:17. If we round to the nearest quarter hour, the time that will add will be 6:15 because it will round. Lastly, we have 2 boxes here at the bottom for earliest departure time and latest departure time. This is helpful for those who are adding trips that coincide with the tides. As we know, tides don't only occur during regular business hours. It can also be helpful for the sunset trips in midwinter or late fall when those sunsets are earlier than most days and you don't want that new departure time to clash with some of the existing trip times that you already have. So in these boxes, I'm going to say my earliest departure time is going to be 5 p.m. because I already have a 3 p.m. departure time within that range. And I'll select my latest departure time as 8 p.m. And then I can go ahead and select add calculated times, and the times that have been added will display for me here in the center. And you'll see it does change as the dates go on, as the sun sets earlier and earlier, it changes. Does anyone have any questions about adding times? All right, if not, I will give it back to Kat to show some more editing of specific dates and times.
Okay. So once you have dates and times uploaded into your calendar, you have some data to work from. As you can see on the right-hand side here, there are many different sections, okay, you can do mass edits on. All of these things can also be done from the calendar, but from the calendar view, you can only edit a specific date and time. So if you want to do mass edits, this is a much, much quicker way to do it. The first 2 boxes we have are online notes and private notes, or event notes as we sometimes refer them to. As the name suggests, so the online note is what will be visible on the booking flow. Event notes are internal, and the only people that can see them will be the staff looking at the internal calendar. Next, we have the sales status, and this is where you can go if you want to go and close times down or make them sold out, that sort of thing. I'll obviously change them back again. So if you've made something sold out, you can come back here and make them open again. Beneath that, we have maximum tickets, and then we have rate adjustment and then thresholds. But let's start by doing one of the things that is most often used, which is closing down a day. So as we do with everything else, the first thing you do is you actually come over to your date range and select the date. I'm just going to select tomorrow, just for 1 day, show event times, and then I have all of these times here. As I want to close the whole day down, I'm going to select all of them. And then over here on the self status, I'm just going to make them unavailable. Okay, you'll see that there is 2 different colors for unavailable. You have unavailable gray and unavailable orange. They do the same thing. What they do is actually close it down to online bookings. It won't even show those times to people online. The reason we have the 2 different colors is that a lot of people use them as a color coding. If they're making it orange, they'll often say that's weather or it's definitely closed. If they make it gray, it's kind of maybe sometimes a gray area that you may or may not want to close them down and open them up. So I have selected the day I want to close down. I've selected all my times. I'm going to make it unavailable, and I'm just going to save it. And then you get a little green pop-up that's confirmed this has happened for you. Anybody got any questions on changing the self status at all? Okay. So let's move on to the rate adjustment, which is this bit just here. This is how you can make either certain days of the week or a certain time for every day different to the regular advertised price. Why would you want to do this? In the example we're going to do here, I'm going to make the first trip of our day an early bird special because I'm trying to draw people in and get that first trip of the day out and busy and full up. So I'm going to discount it, and I'm also going to advertise it at the same time. So as before, we're going to start over here with our date ranges. And I'm going to do from today until the end of the month. Show existing times. And I only want to make the 9 o'clock one. So I'm just selecting the 9 o'clock. And then over here on the rate adjustment, I'm going to put how much I want to discount this by. So I want to make this 10% cheaper. And I'm also going to put a public note on. So in the online notes section here, I'm actually going to put that this is an early bird special. And you can actually save this note if you're going to use the same thing over and over again. So I've updated my note. I've said that I want it 10%, and then I'm just going to save it. And again, you just get a little update that it has been updated for all of those times for you. Now the rate rounding down here, this is if you want to try, if you're doing a 10% discount on a $100 ticket, it's going to give $10 off, making it $90. So it's a round number still. But if you were doing something like 7% on $35.99, it's going to give you a different number. So you can decide if you want to round that to the nearest dollar and make it $35, or if you want to round it to the nearest cent and keep it at like $35.99, for example. So as I've updated this, I'm actually just going to jump over to our booking link so that you can see how it looks for a customer when they're going to come and look to book. So if I just select, let's say Friday, that again. So I'll just do tomorrow, for example, and say I want 3 tickets. I pick the day that I closed down. I'm not doing well here, am I? There we go, look. So I now have the 9 o'clock is the early bird special, and then these are all the regular prices. So you can see how that note is updating for you. Okay, anybody have any questions about that at all? There is an unread message. Closing it down. Okay. All right, so that's how it closed down. Like I say, that is how you can do your rate adjustment. I'm going to quickly update this because I actually saved that note to a closed down trip. And if we refresh a different day now, you'll see it's going to give the people the discount here. So this is 162 for the $3. This is 177, 177, 177. Okay. So last thing that I'm going to show you guys on here is thresholds. Max tickets is, quite self-explanatory. So I'm not really going to go over that unless anybody wants me to. If you have max tickets set at 10 and you want to change it for one trip, you can just come in here and change a particular time. You can make it less or higher, whatever you want to do. So thresholds, which is this final box down here, this is a really, really good feature if you're offering tours that are at various times throughout the day. So obviously, if you could take everybody out once, that is way more cost effective than it is to take 5 different trips when you take 2 people each time. Also, we all know if you offer the public 1,000 options, they're all going to pick something completely different. And that's how you end up with 5 different trips of 2 people each time. So a lot of the softwares that handle this, they do it very differently to us. They make you close down trips and then add a time that says call to, a button that says call to book, for example. The issue with doing this is that if you're actually showing people there is going to be a possibility of a 4 o'clock trip, people will call about it. The point of our actual thresholds is to try and corral people together without you having to manually open and close those times all the way through. If when you're offering the public times, you're only showing them 2 options, they're going to pick from one of those 2 options. So the threshold setting allows you to offer certain times until the trip before has got to whatever number you decide, then makes it cost effective for you to open up another time. So to do this, I'm going to clear all of this out. Okay. So when you set this up, you just have to remember that you need to make the setting on the trip that you want hidden. Okay. So in this example, I'm going to tell the system that for the whole month, show my existing times. Here they are. I don't want people to see the 11 o'clock trip until my 9 o'clock trip has started to fill up. So let's do a refresh and get rid of all this before we have too much going on it. So now until the end of the month. So I want to make sure that people are going on my 9 o'clock trip, which I've already discounted. I'm trying to get people on it. I don't want them to know about the 11 o'clock trip until my 9 o'clock trip is full. I want my threshold to be 10. So what I'm going to do here is say on the 11 o'clock trip, don't show people it until there is at least 10 people on the trip before. So I'm going to save that. And the best way to do this is to jump over to the booking flow so we can see how that's going to look for people as well. Just refresh and clear this stuff. Okay, so I currently have nobody booked on the 7th. So if I come into the 7th and I ask for 2 tickets,
I'm sorry, I made my reservation a little bit early.
oh,
So show the 8th.
Okay. If I ask the system for the 8th and I want 2 tickets, it is going to show me that I can do 9 o'clock, which is the early bird. Then after that, I've only got afternoon trips. So if I'm looking to a morning trip, it's only going to show me the 9 o'clock trip because there's nobody else booked. As people start to book on that 9 o'clock trip, it will update. So if Sarah now goes ahead and makes a reservation for us for
Already done.
the 8th.
Or on the 7th.
On the 7th. Okay, we do exactly the same thing. We're going to ask for 2 tickets. When I now ask, it's going to show me the 11 o'clock because my 9 o'clock has already got enough people that it makes it worth going out. But as you'll see, we're not showing people there's even a possibility of the 11 o'clock until that first trip is full. So does anybody have any questions about thresholds at all? As I mentioned earlier, everything that you can do in this dates and times can be done from the calendar. So if I jump over to the calendar, you can see the same thing. If you go to any particular date and time, you have your settings button here. And in your settings, you can do exactly the same thing. You can add that personal note. You can change the max tickets. You can change your thresholds, sale status, rate adjustment, all of those. And if you are just changing one particular time, this is just as quick. You can come in here, save it, it updates for you. And you can see this is now unavailable because it's great. So, but if you were trying to change a whole day, this has only got 3 times. It's not going to take us that long. But if you do have, all these different times, or if you want to change every Monday, it is much quicker to come over to your events, dates and times and do mass edits in here. As I said, you can save public notes. If we can save that early bird. If you're going to use the same message over and over again, you can just put to save it. And then when you save it, that note will actually be there for future use as well. Does anybody have any questions at all about dates and times or the calendar? Or we can go over anything else if someone's got any other questions at all.
If no one has any questions, we just want to thank you guys for attending today. We hope it's been helpful to you to learn a little bit more about dates and times, mass editing, or even just editing a singular date and time. If you would like a copy of today's webinar, we'll be sending them out via email to you guys. And if anyone would like a one-on-one training of any part of the system, just a refresher at all, or even new staff training, feel free to reach out to the customer success rep that you guys work with, or even just the team in general at support@indexic.net, and we'll absolutely get you guys on the schedule as soon as possible. So thank you everyone for joining today, and we look forward to continuing to work with you guys all.
Okay. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good rest of your week.